All right, everyone. Joshua Short, Lauren Moss with you. You are about to see Andrew Whitmyer here again momentarily. You can see the radar behind him. He's going to be setting up in just a moment. We are focusing on severe weather. This is expected for later on tonight. This is something our team has been first alerting you to throughout the week. But we've seen this thing kind of ebb and flow over the last several days, and now we're getting a little bit more of a timeline tonight.
Even the last couple of days, there wasn't a lot of confidence. It was a model where either we were going to get nothing at all, or we could get some really severe storms. So now that we're in the final countdown to this evening, we have a better idea of what to expect tonight.
And we say final countdown, quite literally, because we still are trying to narrow down the timing. And this is going to be something that Andrew Whitmyer is going to talk and to discuss with us about here in full detail. We want to bring him into the conversation. Andrew, you've got a busy day in front of you. Where do things stand right now?
Yeah, I mean, if you just step outside, it's a very energized day across Michiana as far as the heat and humidity. You're looking live right now at our heat index values just before 2:30 this afternoon Eastern time. And we've got heat index values reaching up into the middle 80s. In fact, in LaPorte, creeping up very close to the upper 80s for that feel-like temperature. And all of this energy that is out there right now with that feel-like temperature, those high dew points, that high humidity, that's going to set the stage for the fuel for these showers and thunderstorms to grow later on today as a front approaches us from the west. Here's a live look at First Alert Weather Radar just before 2:30 p.m. No green, no yellow, no red, no color on the map showing on up. We just have a sky out there that is partly to mostly cloudy right now. Now, I am going to widen out this map and show you what is off to our west right now. And notice how there's a lot more clearing. This is the area where we're going to watch very closely over the next several hours to see where we can get some of these cumulonimbus clouds to grow, and that will eventually give way to showers and thunderstorms, some of which will become strong and or severe. And in fact, we're already looking at some showers and thunderstorms up along the Twin City area. This is where there's a little bit better dynamics for enough spin in the atmosphere. And the National Weather Service already has a tornado watch out for portions of Minnesota and portions of far western Wisconsin. Now, here locally again, no type of watch issue just yet, but I do expect that to change as we get closer towards the evening hours. I do expect at some point this evening we'll likely undergo some type of watch, whether that's a severe watch or a tornado watch, yet to be determined, but something we'll be chatting very closely with the National Weather Service as we get closer towards this evening. So what is Future Track showing for this? I showed this version of Future Track last night at 11, and I have Future Track tonight updating every 30 minutes. And right now it still doesn't change much in the thought process. Here we are paused at 4 p.m. and we're going to watch this area just to the west of Chicago. Rockford up towards Madison, down towards Peoria. We're going to watch this area very closely for those cumulonimbus clouds to form, and what forms here will eventually try to work their way eastward into somewhat of a line. Here we are paused at 7 p.m. with Future Track, seeing the storms firing just west of Chicago, the western suburbs, if you will, of Chicago. And then watch Future Track. This gels into somewhat of a line, a nasty line producing likely straight line winds, some hail, and even some quick spin up tornadoes with it as this works its way eastward across Michiana. And here we are paused at 10 p.m. Notice this line here working up and down Michiana, almost widespread. Future Track trying to show for these chances of severe weather. And then once we get to around 11 midnight is when this finally moves out of Michiana, and then clearing skies overnight with lesser humidity heading our way for Friday. So here's what we know for this severe weather threat across Michiana. Likely now a widespread line of producing damaging straight line winds appears likely across Michiana throughout this evening. And we're trying to really narrow this down, kind of a 3-hour window, if you will, really between 9 and 11 p.m. I think that's going to be the worst of this line as it moves through Michiana, and it's going to be moving at highway speeds. These are going to be moving likely off to the east at around 50 to 60 miles per hour, very fast moving. And with this line of storms producing straight line damaging winds and maybe the mention of 1 or 2 quick spin up tornadoes along that leading edge line, treat these storms like a tornado. Whether or not they're tornado warned or just severe thunderstorm warned, treat it like a tornado warning and get to your safety location the moment those storms do roll into Michiana. Here's an update on our storm thoughts for this evening. A few storms will produce a gust of wind 65 to 70 miles per hour. I think what is more than likely, though, for most of Michiana with that line is some wind gusts 50 to 60 miles per hour. There is a mention of a hail threat, and I think right now the greatest chance to see some damaging hail mainly west of US 31. And then as these gel completely into a line, once they work their way across central and eastern half of Michiana, I think hail becomes a lesser of a concern and a straight line damaging wind event takes over. Now, in regards to heavy rainfall, we've got a lot of moisture out there right now, and I do expect as these showers and thunderstorms move on through Michiana that we are going to have at least a brief period of some very intense rainfall rates. In fact, we could be looking at around a half an inch of rain, maybe as much as an inch of rain in a narrow 1 or 2 hour window, and then we'll see these showers and thunderstorms moving on out as we get past midnight. So the moral of the story is, again, stay weather aware for this evening. We've got you covered here in First Alert Weather. I'm going to be here all night long. We're going to bring in First Alert meteorologist Jack Van Meter later on this evening before those storms start to fire off to our west. And we've got our whole newsroom on standby for this evening as we time out and First Alert ahead to that nasty wind line of storms that appears more likely widespread rolling through Michiana. Josh and Lauren.
Okay, so that's a lot to unpack. I want to step back for a second because we got some people who just tuned in, and I think you can still hear me, Andrew, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to talk about the timeline again because that is something that wasn't too clear leading up to this event, and now we're getting a lot more clarity of a window. Can you talk about that window again?
Yeah, let me go ahead and pull back up Future Track because I think that really helps to highlight it more. We're going to be watching early this evening for these showers and thunderstorms to likely fire somewhere near or just to the west of Chicago. And as these storms begin to fire off to our west, we're going to watch it closely to see the placement of where they do fire, and then watch this next animation of First Alert Weather Future Track. By 9 p.m., it starts to move these showers and thunderstorms over Lake Michigan and crossing the state line, impacting northwestern Indiana and potentially already impacting our lakeshore communities by 9 p.m. Now, if you live along the US 31 corridor, Future Track trying to highlight around 10 o'clock for the arrival time of this, give or take an hour, and then moving through the eastern half of Michiana around 11 o'clock, midnight, and then once we get past midnight, these showers and thunderstorms are east of our area.
Okay, Andrew, that adds a lot of perspective because a lot of people still have those questions.
Oh, yeah.
For sure.
People are interested in the timing. Andrew, I want you to talk a little bit about this because we mentioned it before we went live. Calm some anxiety because I think people hear tornadoes, they hear hail, severe storms, they get a little heightened. This is something not exactly to be scared of, but just prepared for, right? Talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, I was asking this question earlier today. Andrew, is this just the typical spring severe weather event? Yes and no. I mean, you could just feel how energized the atmosphere is outside for today. But as long as Future Track holds true to this holding a line, this is going to be our typical straight line damaging wind event with maybe a quick spin up tornado or two along the leading edge of this as it moves on through. So as long as this holds true with First Alert Weather radar, as we start to get into this event by around mid-evening, I expect most of this to be a straight line damaging wind event. Most of us getting wind speeds 50 to 60 miles per hour for maybe a quick few minute period. But there will be a few isolated gusts on the leading edge of this for a brief minute or two that could get upwards of around 70, maybe as high as 75 miles per hour. So what you can do right now is if you have any loose objects outside, I'm talking to you folks that are watching that have a trampoline outside, you may want to try to find a way to make sure those items are secure, are brought inside before the storms arrive later this evening.
Let me ask you if I can, again, this is all you're working this is developing as we speak. I want to ask you about the power outages part. A lot of people preparing for that because we've seen what happened last month, in the last couple of months, really, to be frank. Are we prepared for power outages with this? But because I think you said the main concern isn't necessarily rain or rainfall. It's hail, it's wind, but that wind can cause some power outages.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is going to likely, as long as Future Track highlights what the radar will resemble, which we're going to take a few hours to really find that out until we start to see these showers and storms firing off to our west. But I think this could be very similar to that last Sunday in March, kind of our first real taste of severe weather across Michiana, and that kind of brought widespread wind damage, widespread power outages. So we are going to have that as a concern this evening with this line as it moves on through Michiana. So something we're going to keep watching very closely. A good idea to have those cell phones charged up right now. Go ahead and plug them on in, and make sure you have the WNDU First Alert Weather app downloaded. And what we're going to do this evening is the moment we get into this event, and as we are live on WNDU with any severe thunderstorm warnings and or tornado warnings, we're also going to live stream that as well. And there's going to be a link on that First Alert Weather app. So as long as you have our app downloaded, if your power goes out and if you're in your safe location with these storms, you'll be able to pull that app up on your smartphone and watch us live even if the power goes out.
So put your car in the garage. Got it. That's a good point.
What if we don't have a garage?
That's a good point.
If you don't have a garage, you better hope that we don't get the hail.
That's a good point. I want to add one more line here. The reason we're doing this Facebook Live, a lot of people are asking so early, is because we want to calm that anxiety. We know a lot of other weather people in the area are putting a lot on Facebook without explanation and context. And Andrew and the team want to make sure you have context to this. You have the timing, you have the window, because this could happen. But again, we're going to see storms. Just a matter of where at this point is what Andrew is
it's a matter of where, Josh and Lauren, and then right now it's a matter of when does this gel into a line. And as long as it gels into a line, straight line winds become the primary concern. But what I want to back up and show you, when these storms first fire, somewhere around Chicago off to our west, that's where there could be some concern for some big time hail and even some tornadoes. So as long as this gels into a line as it crosses across Illinois and into Indiana and Michigan, it becomes less about a chance of a tornado and golf ball size hail and more about the straight line damaging wind gusts.
Okay, Andrew, I want to ask, I think some people are starting to comment about specific towns, but I know we're focusing a lot on Indiana. Southwest Michigan, they're still also under this alert as well, is that right?
Yeah, if I can go ahead and highlight this. Here we are at 9 p.m. We're going to watch this to approach our lakeshore communities first in northwestern Indiana. So places like New Buffalo, Stevensville, St. Joe, Benton Harbor, Watervliet, likely around 9-10 p.m. right now for the arrival of this with Future Track at its current state. And as I mentioned, I've got Future Track updating about every 30 minutes for this afternoon. So we're likely going to have a brand new version of First Alert Weather Future Track when we come on the air today on 16 News Now live at 4, 5, and 6 o'clock. Future Track will be updating every 30 minutes. But Future Track has been really consistent with, again, showing that to develop around our lakeshore communities around 8-9 p.m. and then moving its way eastward across Michiana between 9, 10, and 11 p.m.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that we're missing in all of this that you want people to know? Again, your job is not easy as a meteorologist to predict the future, right? But at the same time, this is your job to keep people prepared, to keep people safe, to first alert them. Is there something else that people need to know tonight or ahead of tonight?
And honestly, it feels like it's about to storm. If you step outside, you know that feeling. The sun's out, it's so hot out there, it just feels like something's coming.
And that's what I mentioned last night on 16 News Now. I said, if you didn't have any idea what the weather was for today, if you weren't following any weather forecast, the moment you stepped outside today, you just thought it felt a little funny. Like, hey, something's up with the weather for today. Something's likely going to happen at some point. And you could just, again, feel that first thing when you step outside. The main message, again, don't be scared. Don't get anxious. Be prepared. We know that there is likely now a widespread line that could move through Michiana as we head towards 9, 10, 11 p.m. from the west to the east. Damaging wind would be the primary concern, and these are going to move at highway speed, so very fast moving. We're likely to see these warnings come out very fast once these showers and thunderstorms move on into Michiana. So the main message is just have a plan in place, make sure that phone is charged up, and again, make sure that, again, you know where to go in the event of a warning. And if I can go ahead and pull up this graphic here, since I mentioned that, to where to go in the event if there was a warning, what you want to do, obviously, if you have a basement, that's going to be the best location. But we know a lot of folks don't have a basement. So if you don't have a basement, an interior room away from windows would be your best place to go as that line moves through around mid-evening.
Can I ask you, Andrew, again, I know you've got a lot to do today, so our apologies, we were going a little bit long on this Facebook Live, but I don't think people minded. In fact, we've got 300 people watching and asking a lot of questions. So again, this timing right now, as of this moment, is between 10 and midnight, potentially earlier as 9, but that's the window after sunset. Can you let people know, you talked about something, I want to bring it back up yesterday, something about a cap. I want you to explain that, because that was the way that you explained it is exactly what could happen, and that's what at least the forecast is showing is a possibility of happening. Can you explain that?
We had that graphic right with the pop bottle.
Yeah, let me try to see if I can find it here in my little library.
Sure.
So imagine if you
You've got a library, of course.
And you had you didn't open up the pop, you would get no explosion. But if you shook it up and then you started to open up the cap, well, then you have a big mess to clean up. You get that foam explosion kind of everywhere. What we're starting to see for today, and we were starting to see that last night with the data, is the cap not nearly as strong as what it was looking like early in the week. Now, we do have a cap in place right now. You can tell that evidence by looking at a visible satellite image with all these puffier clouds. And what that cap does, it really prevents these clouds from growing up to adults. It prevents them from really growing upscale into the upper layers of the atmosphere, which is what you need to get these big time thunderstorms. So right now, that's why we have no green, yellow, or red showing up on first alert weather radar. But that will likely change as we start to see that cap starting to erode. And it will likely happen somewhere off to our west first, and they continue to erode as those showers and thunderstorms works their way eastward. That's going to be something we're going to pay close attention to with First Alert Weather Radar this evening. And again, we'll have everything live for you starting on 16 News Now at 4.
Yeah, Andrew, I know people are commenting because it's such a busy weekend. We have so many people in town. You got Notre Dame, Holy Cross, graduation happening.
So I guess, my question would be for Andrew, what are we looking like after this? Are we in the clear for the weekend, and are we in the clear for the rest of the night?
I mean, I'll go ahead and show you the 10-day forecast due to the fact that we're going to have live First Alert Weather Radar updating every few minutes on 16 News Now at 4. Here's a look at our 10-day forecast. We're going to see things drastically changing as we head towards this weekend. Tomorrow, it's still going to be a warm day, but we wave goodbye to the humidity slowly after those storms arrive later tonight. By daybreak tomorrow morning, it's going to feel refreshing first thing out the door. And then we first alert ahead to a secondary cold front moving on through late tomorrow evening, tomorrow night. That could spark with it some scattered showers and thunder showers. Right now, not anticipating those being severe. I think the severe weather threat will stay down across central and southern portions of Indiana and Illinois. And then for the weekend, no rain chance, but you got the cooler temperatures. Dress for the 60s this weekend, not the 70s. And after the heat and humidity for today, that's going to feel chilly.
Nice. Yeah. We want that. This is what we want.
It's going to feel refreshing after today, I'll tell you that.
This is great. Look, Andrew, we appreciate you. I'm going to make sure as we're looking here on Facebook, any more questions. A lot of people just says prepare, and I think that's the last part. I want to just kind of put a bow on this. This is, you're looking at the graphic behind Andrew. This is the timing of the storms. Before, don't have to worry about it. Obviously, sunny day. After, you can sleep tight. But this is the window that is of critical importance. And this is usually critical because you're talking about the chance of tornadoes. And you know those nocturnal tornadoes, they're more dangerous than anything.
Yeah, when it's dark outside.
And what Lord and I were chatting about, too, right before we went on this live broadcast here digitally, is it's a good thing that these aren't coming through at 1, 2, 3 a.m. through Michiana. No one likes to be woken up to the sound of loud storms, let alone strong and or severe weather. So I think with the bulk of this coming through between 9, 10, and 11 o'clock, I think you're going to be able to sleep easy once those storms move on through. And let's just hope that they don't produce the wind damage that they could, and that these are just some loud showers and thunderstorms that move through to help break the heat and humidity.
Yeah, again, the big message tonight, don't be scared, just be weather aware. You can always download that free 16 News Now weather app and join us starting at 4 o'clock tonight.
They're going to have the updated models, the radars, everything. You see Andrew there. He said he has a library. He's not joking. He's got a library of stuff related to this storm alone that he's been looking at ever since Monday when we first told you about some activity happening today. So, Andrew, we will let you work. We appreciate you, buddy. Thank you. For the rest of you watching on Facebook or wherever you're getting your streaming right now, Lauren and I will see you with Andrew starting at 4 o'clock. We'll have coverage throughout the day as the rest of our teams continue the coverage at 5 and, of course, at 6 o'clock with us again. We'll see you then.
Stay safe.